So, I have finally finished scraping the paint off of the war track. I have sanded it to get it down, and though I could spend a lot more time on this piece, probably another 2 weeks, one or 2 weeks to get rid of all of the paint that's on there. I think I'm okay with this. I mean, this is what I'm looking at here. Oh, it's not too bad. Or this one here. Alright, so like I said, I left the paint in there because it's flat. You don't need to worry about it, but I mean, some things like this guy, check this. Around his, right there. Still quite a bit of paint in there, but you know what? Getting that out is a pain in the butt. And I didn't really feel like doing it. But while I was looking and trying to decide what I was going to do next, was I going to move on to one of the other ones? I started looking into it and thinking about it, but after going through what I went through on this one, I realized that I really do need to get all the pieces apart in order for me to be able to strip this paint off the way I want to. Because I mean, even like, look at this sucker. This has had 4 baths in remover, and it still pretty much looks like it's almost perfectly painted. So yeah, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, do I want to go through all that, or do I want to move on to something else? And the answer ended up being, I'm probably going to move on to something else. And last night I started working on a battle wagon and a truck, and some of the work I needed to do on those to get all the magnet points and what I needed to magnetize and figure that out. And then today, thinking about what I'm going to be doing with all these tracks, and I have a war buggy that's currently in the, I think it's 3rd or 4th dip in the paint stripper, but I went off and got some styrene tubes and some aluminum rod to go with these tracks and the truck and the battle wagon. Simply because I know I'm going to need them, and I'm going to use them on those. But this video is more about sort of a warning to guys out there who are just getting into the hobby, or if you've been in the hobby for a long time, and with regards to taking paint off of minis. If you have metal minis, don't worry about it. It's really, really simple. Once you throw it in whatever you're using, simple green, brake fluid, whatever, that paint just comes off. It comes off really easy. Short of a few small little spots where you can literally pick it out with your knife or something, it's really, really easy to get off. But when it comes to plastic minis, and you'll hear it time and time again, to keep your paint thin. And I can't stress that enough. Now, if you're one person who you just want to get some paint on them so you can play the game, and it's all about playing the game, it doesn't matter. You don't care. You're not about trying to make the best looking mini that you possibly can. And you're not likely to really change your paint schemes, etc. But for those of us who are picky, and especially those of us who are somewhat of perfectionists, keeping your paint thin is key. Not only will it make it easier to get off should you ever want to strip it, but allows you to simply paint over it. Well, I got up to, I think, 3 different paint jobs on this sucker, and that wasn't exactly thin paint. That was I'd probably say it was put on about a medium coat. Not heavy. Heavy is what you see with a lot of new painters, and it doesn't look good. It's gloopy. That would be heavy painting. Medium painting is fine. That would be generally the paint from the pot guys who go on and literally one coat and everything's good. Your color's on there, everything's good. And I tend to like to paint that way simply because I don't want to spend a lot of time painting things. It can mask a little bit of detail, but even after 3 medium coats, all the detail was still here. But now that I've scraped off a lot of the paint on here, I will have to probably go to a thinner paint. And basically, yeah, if you can keep your paint thin, when it comes to stripping paint off of a plastic mini, things are going to go a lot smoother. Basically, your first step is to put it into whatever paint removing solution that you prefer, and go through that. If you don't get all the paint off in your first go, dunk it again. I've gone up to like 4 times on a mini, just trying to get off as much paint as possible. Once that is all said and done, you can get out, say, I recommend having a set of files on hand. I didn't use any files on this one. Simply, you know what, I was getting fine results with just using a knife. But I'm really skilled at using my knife for cleaning off mold lines, cleaning off just molding the plastic in general, wherever I'm getting, seams and stuff like that. I'm one of those people who will remove the seam using a knife rather than using files or anything. I generally only use files on metal miniatures because using a knife on that, your knife just dulls like that. So, but yeah, I use a knife for cleaning off pretty much most of everything. Now, it's something that with practice you can get really, really good at, but if you don't pay attention, you can also do a lot of damage to your miniature model. Now what I tend to do is, let's see if you can, come on, focus. Let's get the focus on here. Okay, if you see the tip of that, it's kind of broken off at the tip. Now I use that because sometimes you need to scrape along using the tip portion of it. Now if you've seen I think GW has a mold line scraper, and one of it's rounded and the other one has a tip on it. I'm actually thinking of getting that simply because it looks like it'll do a really, really good job, not only getting mold lines off, but for scraping on top of, using a knife. Now I have all sorts of different blades and different stuff, and I could have gone to town and really tried some different stuff, but standard blade, standard knife seem to work really good. Now once you've done all that, there's going to be scratch marks. There's nothing much you can do about it. You're going to need some really, really fine sandpaper, and you're just going to want to hit that and smooth it out. You may need to rip it into little pieces and get a little toothpick and get it in the little corners and stuff like that, and it takes a long time and it takes a lot of work to do it, but in the end, these are, this is what you end up with, and you end up with a miniature it's not brand new, don't get me wrong, but once the primer hits it, and you get that first coat of paint on, you shouldn't notice anything. So yeah, it's one of those things. When you're planning on painting and building these things, think ahead. Do you think in the future you're going to need to strip the paint off? If yes, here's my last tip. Paint everything before you put it together. That won't give you the best bond, but paint on paint with, say, plastic cement will still hold, but should you need to, it can come apart. If you put plastic cement and plastic to plastic and then paint, the likelihood that you're going to get it off without doing some kind of damage to your Mini, well, it's pretty good. I mean, you're probably going to end up doing something, and that's one of the problems with the ones that I'm looking at now. I think the bonds were a little too good, and I'm having troubles getting them apart. I've cut into them to a certain degree, but literally some of them look like if I tried any harder, I would just snap them. So I'm going to be trying a few different things. I'm going to be doing more cutting into them and really going at them, but not for a while. But yeah, if anybody else has any tips out there in terms of what you do in terms of stripping your paint, what you do in terms of building your minis, knowing that you may need to strip them in the future, put a comment down below, because I'm sure people would love to hear it. I have tons of little things that I do, and I could go over each and every single one of them one by one. I could show you all the different tools, but the fact of the matter is, everybody has their own way. Everybody has their own skills, and everybody has their own things that they're comfortable with doing. So just because I show you a technique or I show you a tool doesn't mean that's necessarily going to work for you. Just because I show you a product doesn't necessarily mean that would work for you. So, yeah, do your research. If you're going to be building your minis, keep in mind that if you think you'll have to strip them in the future, consider painting before you glue. Keep your paint thin, and don't be too worried about repainting a Mini, because if it's thin, you're 2-3 coats, 2 or 3 different paint styles, and you should still be okay without covering up any of the major detail. But that being said, when it comes to stripping your Mini, make sure, give it a bath in whatever remover you're going to. Get out your knife, get out your sandpaper, get out your clippers, get out whatever you think works for you. Every little nook and cranny in these has different techniques that you're going to have to use. The flat portions are the easiest. You can really go at them and flatten them out, and it shouldn't be a problem. And sometimes it can be a pain, but don't give up. Take your time and be patient, because these aren't cheap. So if you aren't satisfied with the work you've done on them and you want to redo them, sometimes buying new is the way to go. There, I've said it. And I'll buy new if they ever release a new model for this damn thing. I think this freaking thing's like 30 years old. Anyways, till next time, this is Rob from Mordako 101.